The coffee shop on Mulberry Street had seen better days. Its cracked leather booths and faded photographs of old New York told stories of a neighborhood that once thrived on tradition and loyalty. Now it was caught between gentrification and the ghosts of Little Italy's past. Emma Rodriguez wiped down the counter for the third time that morning, her movements mechanical, her mind elsewhere. At 28, she had perfected the art of being present while emotionally absent. It was a survival skill she had learned the hard way. 3 years. That's how long it had been since Michael. 3 years since she had found the engagement ring hidden in his sock drawer. The same day she discovered he had been living a double life with another woman in Brooklyn. 3 years since her heart had turned to stone. Your friends are worried about you, her sister Claire had texted that morning. You never go out anymore. You never smile. You're just existing. Emma had deleted the message without responding. What was there to say? That she preferred the predictable rhythm of espresso machines and small talk with strangers? That she had built walls so high that even she couldn't see over them anymore? The bell above the door chimed. Emma looked up, ready to deliver her practiced greeting, but the words caught in her throat. He was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on a Roman statue. His suit was expensive, tailored perfectly to broad shoulders. But it was his eyes that stopped her, dark, intense, and carrying a weight that matched her own. Coffee. Black, he said, his voice low and slightly rough around the edges. Emma nodded, grateful for something to do with her hands. She could feel him watching her as she poured, and it unsettled her in a way she hadn't felt in years. You work here long? He asked. 2 years. You like it? She looked up, surprised by the question. Most customers didn't care about her life beyond their order. It's quiet, predictable, safe. Something flickered in his eyes. Safe is overrated. Emma slid the coffee across the counter. That'll be $3.50. He placed a $20 bill down. Keep it. I can't. Please. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Consider it a tip for honesty. Over the following weeks, he became a regular. Always at 9 in the morning, always black coffee, always leaving too much money. Emma learned his name was Vincent, though everyone called him Vin. He never said what he did for work, and she never asked. In her experience, people who wore $1,000 suits to a neighborhood coffee shop had reasons for keeping secrets. But he was different from Michael. Vincent never lied, even when the truth was uncomfortable. When she asked if he was married, he said no. When she asked if he was dangerous, he said yes. Most people would run from that honesty. Emma found it refreshing. Her friends didn't agree. Are you insane? Her best friend Jessica hissed over lunch at their usual spot in Greenwich Village. Emma, you know nothing about this guy. He could be anyone. After what happened with Michael. Michael was a coward who couldn't even be honest about cheating. Emma interrupted. Vincent has never lied to me once. And that makes it okay? That he admits he's dangerous? I didn't say it was okay. I said it was honest. But Jessica's words echoed in her mind that night as she locked up the shop. Was she being foolish? Was she so desperate for something real that she was willing to ignore obvious red flags? Vincent was waiting outside, leaning against a black Mercedes. You don't have to do this, Emma said. Do what? Whatever this is. I'm not looking for a savior. I'm not some broken thing that needs fixing. Good, he said simply. Neither am I. Then what do you want? To know if you'd have dinner with me. Somewhere public. Somewhere safe. You can leave any time you want. Emma looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the same exhaustion she felt, the same careful distance. He wasn't trying to save her. He was just another person trying to figure out if trust was still possible. Okay, she heard herself say. But I choose the place. Fair enough. As she walked to her car, Emma felt something she hadn't experienced in 3 years. A flutter of anticipation. It terrified her more than anything Vincent could have said about being dangerous. Maybe her friends were right. Maybe she was being foolish. But for the first time in a long time, she was willing to take that risk. The restaurant Emma chose was a small Italian place in the West Village, far enough from Mulberry Street to feel neutral. She arrived early, her hands trembling slightly as she checked her reflection in the window. Vincent arrived exactly on time, and dinner was surprisingly easy. He asked about her family, her dreams before the coffee shop, the books stacked on her counter that she read during slow afternoons. She found herself laughing at his stories about growing up in the Bronx, about his grandmother who spoke no English but somehow communicated everything through food and fierce hugs. For 2 hours, Emma forgot to be afraid. Then everything shattered on a Tuesday morning. She was opening the shop when 2 men in dark suits walked in. They weren't customers. Emma knew it from the way they moved, the way their eyes swept the room like predators assessing territory. Emma Rodriguez, the taller one, asked. "Who's asking?" "Friends of Vincent Russo." He held up a badge. "FBI, we need to talk about your boyfriend." The word hung in the air. Boyfriend? Was that what Vincent was? "I don't know what you're talking about," Emma said, her voice steadier than she felt. The agent pulled out a folder, spreading photographs across her counter. Vincent in various locations, always surrounded by men who looked like they'd stepped out of a Scorsese film. Vincent outside a social club in Little Italy. Vincent at a funeral where everyone wore black and sunglasses despite the rain. "Vincent Russo is a captain in the Lucchese crime family," the agent said. "His father was Antonio Russo. His uncle is currently serving life for racketeering and murder. And you're serving him coffee every morning like he's just another guy." Emma's stomach dropped. The room tilted. "We know he's using your shop as a front. We know about the meetings in your storage room after hours." "I don't have meetings in my storage room." "Then you won't mind if we search it? Do you have a warrant?" The agent smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Not yet, but we will. And when we do, everyone associated with Vincent Russo goes down with him, including naive coffee shop owners who claim they didn't know anything. They left, but their words remained, poisoning the air Emma breathed. When Vincent arrived at his usual time, Emma's hands shook as she poured his coffee. "You need to tell me the truth," she said quietly. "All of it. Right now." Vincent's jaw tightened. He glanced around the empty shop, then met her eyes. "Not here. Tonight. I'll tell you everything." But Emma had already seen the answer in his face, in the way his shoulders tensed, in the careful way he avoided looking at the counter where the photographs had been spread like evidence of her stupidity. Jessica had been right. Her sister had been right. Everyone had been right except her. She had been foolish to trust again. Vincent showed up at her apartment that night. Emma almost didn't open the door, but something in his persistent knocking told her he wouldn't leave until she heard him out. He stood in her doorway, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked vulnerable. "My father was Antonio Russo," he began without preamble. "I grew up in that life. I watched it destroy everyone I loved. My mother died of a broken heart when I was 16. My younger brother overdosed trying to escape the pressure. I've spent the last 5 years trying to get out." Emma crossed her arms. "The FBI says you're a captain." "I was, past tense. I've been working with a federal prosecutor for 8 months. They want the new boss, Carmine DeLuca. He's planning something big, something that'll put innocent people in danger. I'm their inside man." "So you're a snitch." Vincent flinched at the word. "I'm trying to make things right. There's a difference. And me? Was I part of your cover? The wholesome coffee shop girl who makes you look normal? No." His voice broke slightly. "You were the first real thing I'd had in years. I came to your shop because it was quiet, because nobody knew me there, because you looked at me like I was just a person, not a last name or a legacy." Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. "The FBI came to see me today. They think I'm involved. I'll fix it. I'll tell them you knew nothing. How can I trust anything you say? How do I know this isn't just another lie?" Vincent stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Because I'm giving you a choice. I'm walking away right now if you want me to. You'll never see me again. You'll be safe. Or you stay with me through this. And I promise you, when it's over, I'm done. No more family business. No more dangerous lifestyle. Just me trying to build something real." Emma's mind raced. Every logical part of her brain screamed to shut the door, to protect herself the way she should have done from the beginning. But there was something in Vincent's eyes, a desperate honesty that Michael had never shown her. If you're watching this and you believe in second chances, if you think people can change, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Because what happens next, nobody saw coming. Emma took a shaky breath. If you're lying to me, if you break my heart like he did, I won't survive it a second time. I won't, Vincent said. I swear on everything I have left. I won't. She stepped aside, letting him in. It was possibly the most foolish decision of her life. Or maybe it was the bravest. The next 3 months were the hardest of Emma's life. Vincent disappeared for days at a time, deep undercover in meetings she couldn't know about. When he returned, he looked older, the weight of his double life carving lines into his face. Emma kept the coffee shop running, ignoring the stares from neighbors who had seen the FBI visits, fielding concerned calls from Jessica, who thought she had lost her mind completely. But something was changing inside her. The walls she had built after Michael weren't crumbling. They were transforming. She was learning that trust wasn't about blind faith. It was about choosing someone even when you knew the risks, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. Vincent called her one November evening, his voice tight with urgency. It's happening tonight. The meeting with DeLuca. After this, it's over. I'm out. Be careful, Emma whispered. I love you. I should have said it before. I love you, Emma. The line went dead before she could respond. The hours crawled by. Emma sat in her apartment, phone clutched in her hand, watching the news for any breaking stories. At 2 a.m, her door burst open. Vincent stumbled in, blood on his shirt, his face bruised. Behind him were 2 federal agents. We got him, one agent said. DeLuca and his entire operation. Vincent's testimony sealed it. Emma ran to Vincent, her hands shaking as she touched his face. You're hurt. I'm alive. He pulled her close. I'm alive and I'm done. No more looking over my shoulder. No more lies. The agents explained that Vincent would need to testify at trial, that there would be protection, relocation if necessary. But the dangerous life, the family business, it was finished. Over the following weeks, Emma watched Vincent transform. The tension that had always lived in his shoulders began to fade. He smiled more. He slept through the night. He started talking about the future, about opening a legitimate business, about building a life that didn't require looking over his shoulder. The trial came in February. Emma sat in the courtroom every day, watching Vincent face down the men who had controlled his life since birth. His testimony was devastating, detailed, unflinching. When Carmine DeLuca was sentenced to 40 years, Vincent finally exhaled a breath he'd been holding his entire life. That night, in her apartment, Vincent got down on one knee. I know I have no right to ask this. I know I've put you through hell. But you saw the worst of me and stayed anyway. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Emma's hands flew to her mouth. Will you marry me? Not the mob captain. Not the informant. Just me. Vincent. The guy who wants to spend the rest of his life making you happy. Through tears, Emma whispered yes. The wedding was small, intimate. Everything Emma had never dared to dream about. They held it at a chapel in upstate New York, far from the city and the memories that haunted them both. Claire stood as her maid of honor, tears streaming down her face. Even Jessica came, finally admitting she had been wrong about Vincent. Your sister told me you've never looked happier, Jessica whispered during the reception. I'm sorry I doubted him. I'm sorry I doubted you. Emma squeezed her hand. You were protecting me. I love you for that. Vincent had invited only 3 people from his old life, childhood friends who had never been part of the business, who had stuck by him through everything. His grandmother's photograph sat on a table near the altar, watching over them. When Vincent said his vows, his voice cracked with emotion. You saved me, Emma. Not from the FBI or the family or the danger. You saved me from myself. You showed me that I could be more than my last name, more than my father's son. You gave me permission to be just a man who loves a woman more than anything in this world. Emma's own vows were simple. You chose me when you could have chosen safety. You chose honesty when you could have chosen comfort. You chose love when you could have chosen to stay closed off forever. That's the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. They honeymooned in Portland, Oregon, as far from New York as they could get without leaving the country. Vincent had never seen the Pacific Ocean. Emma watched him stand at the edge of the water, his face tilted toward the sun, looking lighter than she had ever seen him. "This is what peace feels like," he said, pulling her close. "I'd forgotten." When they returned to New York, Vincent opened a construction company, using skills he had learned working legitimate jobs between family obligations. Emma expanded the coffee shop, hiring staff, creating the community space she had always envisioned. The FBI kept their word. Vincent's cooperation had been so valuable that they ensured his safety, his fresh start. The newspapers ran stories about the takedown of the Lucchese operation, but Vincent's name was kept sealed, protected. Life became beautifully ordinary. Sunday dinners with Claire and her family, movie nights with Jessica, morning walks through Central Park, Vincent coaching Little League in their neighborhood, Emma taking photography classes she had always wanted to try. One evening, 6 months after the wedding, Emma found Vincent in their apartment, staring at an old photograph of his mother. "She would have loved you," he said softly. "She always told me that the right woman would make me want to be better. I never understood what she meant until I met you." Emma wrapped her arms around him from behind. "We made each other better. That's how it's supposed to work." He turned, kissing her forehead. "I'm home. Finally, I'm home." 3 years later, the coffee shop on Mulberry Street had transformed into something magical. Emma had renamed it Second Chances, and it had become a neighborhood institution. The walls displayed local artists' work, the back room hosted book clubs and support groups, and every Sunday morning, Vincent taught carpentry classes to teenagers looking for alternatives to the streets. Emma stood behind the counter, her hand resting on her swollen belly, 7 months pregnant, and she still refused to let anyone else open the shop. "You're stubborn," Vincent said, bringing her a chair. "Just like our daughter's going to be." "Our daughter is going to be brave," Emma corrected. "There's a difference." Claire visited that afternoon with her kids, who immediately dragged Vincent outside to show him their new soccer moves. Through the window, Emma watched her husband laugh, completely unguarded, completely free. Jessica arrived moments later, engagement ring sparkling on her finger. She had finally found her own second chance with a teacher she'd met at one of Emma's community events. "You started all this, Jessica said, gesturing around the bustling shop. "You showed us that taking risks isn't foolish. It's brave." Emma smiled. "We all deserve second chances. All of us." That evening, Vincent closed the shop early. They walked through Little Italy, past the old social clubs that were now restaurants and boutiques. The neighborhood had changed, evolved just like they had. "Do you ever miss it?" Emma asked. "The excitement, the danger?" Vincent stopped, turning to face her. "Every day I wake up next to you. Every day I get to build something real with my own hands. Every day I'm not looking over my shoulder or lying to people I care about." He placed his hand on her belly. "Every day I get closer to meeting our daughter. That's more exciting than anything I left behind." They named her Sophia, after Vincent's grandmother. When Emma held her for the first time, she thought about the scared woman who had wiped down counters 3 years ago, convinced she would never trust again, never love again, never risk her heart again. Her friends had said she was foolish to trust again. But Emma had learned that real foolishness was staying safe, staying closed, staying in the prison of past hurts. Vincent had chosen her over his dangerous lifestyle. But more importantly, she had chosen to believe in transformation, in redemption, in the possibility that broken people could heal together. As Sophia grew, they told her the truth, age-appropriately, about where they came from, about mistakes and second chances, about how love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day. And every morning, when Vincent kissed Emma goodbye before heading to work, he whispered the same words. "Best decision I ever made." She always whispered back, "Mine too."